So back to what should you charge? Well, back to how many expenses do you have, back to what your market's like, back to how good are you, back to what's your biggest problem that you can solve. Now, one of my favorite coaches when I was first starting out said you get paid more versus like, how important that service is. Or drop with a heart attack in front of you, like someone who's a doctor is going to get paid a lot more if they can resuscitate this person back to life versus someone who could just change the oil in your car. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel, and today we want to talk about how much should you charge. Let's get into it.
Yeah, you should charge what I tell you to charge because it's about me in this marketplace. So I am sick of you undercutters. I'm sick of you people who are charging more than me too. Well, I'm sick of you people in the middle. I'm just sick of everybody charging whatever they think they should. Well, why do you get the choice? I should tell you what to do. You know why? Because it's about me. And that's what it's about. But seriously, guys, I've been doing this about 40 years, and throughout the years, certain people, and even me at one point was going, oh, those undercutters or whatever. But the point is, everybody's at a certain place. Wherever they're at, that's where they're at. And they get to put themselves in whatever market. There's always going to be a bottom market, middle, and tier upward. There's probably some right gray areas in between those. But where are you wanting to be? And the thing is, in the US, it's a free market. So you really can't set prices. And I've known in 20, 30 years ago, a bunch of kind of all these entertainers were really actually trying to set the price. This is what everybody has to charge. That's not going to work. So what I say is do what's right for your company and go on and be the one you want to be. And it's okay to charge whatever. And a newbie, what I call newbies, are 10 years or less. And the some of those newbies are as good as the LBs. And they get to charge what they want, and we get to charge what we want. We can be 3 times more expensive, but that's our choice. Or we can even undercut the newbies, but it's okay. It's a free market. And I'll go back to Scott. He's got lots to say here, and I'll come back in if he needs
me. So when it comes to how much you should charge, there's quite a bit of information that you would want to put into the blender to figure out what the set price should be. So one thing would be your skill level and what is the status of your company. Are you just starting out? Do you have some reviews built up? That kind of thing. Like, how skilled are you? Another thing is, how many leads do you have coming in? Like, how well are you handling leads that are coming in? I mean, you could be shooting yourself in the foot by not, saying the right thing during a sales call, right? And then, there's another thing to think about too, the market, right? What market are you in? I know the guys up north, they charge a lot more than we are able to get away with in Orlando. And also in South Florida, they charge a lot more than what we're able to get away with in Orlando too. Now, there's a few things in the market, right? We have some theme parks and tons of talented people here. So that's what drives the price down just a little bit. Also, we're Florida, I don't know, like a state without taxes, so that's a little bit different too, like a red state. So we're a little bit different than maybe some of the other states. So when you start to factor in all these things, it's like, well, how many leads do you got coming in? People that usually are mad at like losing a sale or something like that is because they don't have enough sales coming in. One of my favorite coaches were talking about, people that rely on referral business, right? Like if you're doing this, referral business just drops off because you're not spending money to get more leads type thing. So when it comes to how much should you charge, right? So how many leads you got coming in? How well is your sales presentation? And how many of those are you closing? Now, you were not going to be able to give me a well-informed answer without at least those 3 things, right? What market are you in? How much are you charging? What are you offering for services? And then, like, what is your closing rate even, right? So again, people that get mad about losing a sale, it's just because they don't they don't have enough leads coming in. And if you look like a needy salesperson, they know that they have you. So if someone comes along and they ask for your price and you just give it to them, I mean, now they have the upper hand, right? Like they don't have to come back to you. There's no way for negotiation unless you're one of those businesses that are just booked solid and you don't really care and you just give them the price. If they get back to you, they get back to you. You know, it all depends on where you're at. So how much should you charge? You should charge what you think your services is worth and what your external feedback, like your customers, what do they say about your service for the value that you charge? And then you're going to get a way better answer from that information. And of course, we're all learning and growing. And as long as you put forth the effort towards the clients that you have, they'll be able to give you positive feedback. Now, the thing is, you don't want to get caught up as you're growing. And there's another thing in this market too, right? A lot of people are weekend warriors. They have day jobs, so it doesn't really matter. They can charge whatever they want, and it's hard to get them to move on the weekends. And they just kind of do it if it kind of works out. Now, those are the people that don't really work with a whole lot. And one thing that I would say is that like the people that are the undercutters, they go out and they clean up all those clients I don't want anyway. Somebody who's just cheaper or looking for prices, yes, there's something that we used to say or still kind of say within our tables and our social meets with the team, right? Somebody who comes up and doesn't have the money for your services, so maybe $1,000 to this person is a lot of money, right? So they start nitpicking on all these little things because they want to get that value out of their money. Whereas when we booked the Ying Ying twins, I was like, it's $5,000, and they're like, okay, here's a Zelle, and we just took care of it, right? Like, and they weren't even worried about it. So again, I'm back to the emotional intelligence. Like, are you understanding where these people are coming from, right? And are you putting forth the effort to make sure that what you charge is worth the value? And if you're, like Jeff was saying earlier, there's three different tiers. There's the lower tier, the middle tier, and the higher tier. And depending on where your business is at, you probably have to work your way up through the ropes, right? So you would, and I expect people that are just starting to be a little bit cheaper and then probably get that lead. And yet at the same time, I don't even think they're spending money on advertising. So they end up making out pretty good. And especially if they have a week job, then that's a weekday job that takes care of the security, and then that's just what it is. All right. So they may get a lot of complicated clients, but I'm kind of happy. So think about it like this, like if somebody cheaper comes along and they all get all booked up, that means they're not available anymore. Right. So somebody who may want that service, and I'll be like, well, my price is this, and then they're going to have to pay it if they can't find anybody, especially on a busy day. And if they don't pay it, well, I got a 4-year-old daughter that needs my attention anyway. So how much should you charge, Jeff?
I really believe the whole thing, the gambit is charge what the heck you want. I mean, seriously, become the person you want to be wherever you're at in your business. If you're not as good as your competition, get better, and decide you don't have to. You can be in the middle, you can be at the top, or you can be at the bottom. It really doesn't matter, really, as long as you're not getting complaints from your customers. That's what I would say when you need to work on. If you're getting complaints that you're not good enough at whatever price you're charging, you're probably charging too much. But if everybody loves you at your price, then you can stay there. And also, if you're getting too much business and it's killing you, raise your prices so you get a little less. Scott made a really good point. He's got a 4-year-old daughter. Who wants to work every single? I used to do this seriously years and years ago. Day to night, and I didn't even probably for 10 or 15 years. I didn't even take a vacation, but I worked almost every single day of my life. And it worked out. I mean, I got stuff and I got a few houses, and it worked out, and I did lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of it. So where do you want to be? So that's what we're saying. And if you're not where you want to be, hone your skills to where you want to be. And then what Scott keeps on saying, and hone your sales pitch. What are you selling, and is it worth selling? And then start understanding how to sell it. If you're not making, Scott gets about 70-80% sales rate, when the lead comes in. If you're seriously, if you're buying leads and you're not closing them, work on your closing first, because all you're doing is wasting your money. Or you're at the wrong place. Go find your avatar. Find the people who can hire you and who you want to hire. Scott made a perfect example of saying he doesn't, you get pissed off because somebody's charging less than you. You don't want those guys anyway. The people who want the undercutters are usually the people who are they're not as kind. Not always, but I'm just saying sometimes they don't even pay. Sometimes they write bad checks at the bottom tier. And you're not inside Eric. I'm just telling you, I've been, so I don't do, I truly, my company tries to do the upper tier and we'll do the middle tier, but we really work on not doing the bottom tier for sure. Because so I'm with Scott. Let the other people, the newbies, do the lower tier because we don't want that business anyway. Okay, so we want to go middle to higher tier, my company at least. And
I was just about to say we go back to the statement of what's the difference between someone who charges $5,000 or someone who charges $2,000, and the saying goes, the guy who has the kahunas to ask for it.
And then the caveat to that is basically yes, the guy who has the kahunas to ask at the $5,000 rate, as long as the client says they were worth the money and they would refer them to somebody else, or at least they wouldn't badmouth them and say, that they did a good job for the price. Now, if they come back and they say this was the worst guy I ever had for that kind of price, then you need to look at your prices because not always, not just with one customer. I mean, but if you had it, 3 or 4 of these people and you've done that, you're probably just ruining your reputation if that's happening. So watch if you're not worth what you're charging, look at that. I mean, people, you can get it. That's like, oh my God, I can't believe you did such a terrible job at this rate. Now, if someone says that to you, assess where you're at. Now, there are people who will say that just to get a discount. Yeah, you have some emotional intelligence right here that
yeah. When it goes to emotional intelligence, a lot of people don't understand that there's like 4 major motivators to get somebody to move, and you as the sales guy with the emotional intelligence to figure out by the questions that you ask where this person's coming from to figure out which one of the 4 motivators that they have. Now this is just a model. It's something to like help you categorize something really quick. I'm sure there's 10,000 other ways to explain something, but just realize when somebody purchases something, it can be broken down into 4 major categories. Category number 1, I don't, there's not any particular order. It's just, it's just whatever works out, right? So one of the categories is that somebody will move if it makes them feel right to move, and they use words like I vibe with that, so that's a kinesthetic personality type. There's another one who will only move on security, right? So this goes with the person that you're having a sales conversation with, or even your employees, for you to understand what makes them move, because they won't move if you don't talk to them in their language. So the first one was kinesthetic, the feelings. The number 2 one, what should I say? Security. Somebody will move if it makes more sense to them. Usually that's attached to money, right? Like, oh yeah, this is enough money for me to save, and I'll be able to build my bomb shelter and put all my guns in there with all my canned food. So that's somebody who's a safety person, right? And then there's the money person who only moves if they're getting enough money to move. So yeah, I mean, it was just a dollar amount for these people. And then there's the last one, number 4. Oh, prestige. Yeah, I'm trying to block that one out of my mind. Basically, prestige means that like somebody would rather do a job for Jerry Jones at a lower rate than a larger rate somewhere else, because they would rather say that they did a show for Jerry Jones, probably even do it for next to nothing, just because it was that. I actually had a DJ that was like all excited about these Solar Bear gigs that we had, and it was like a lower paying gig than other things that we had, but he didn't care because it was Solar Bears, which is like an offshoot of Tampa Bay Lightning team, like their farm league, but it was still a high name, and that person was really excited about that. So
and flip it, because right now he's talking about entertainer taking that, but also the flip side of that is you're going to really look good.
Example. I was. Oh no, I got a great example for that. One of my clients, the dad was The dad was a lawyer, and I handed him a microphone, and I said, "This is the one we use for Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace is the only African American NASCAR driver." And I put that in his hand. He said, "Oh wow, Bubba Wallace touched this." I mean, yep. So that guy was moved by prestige, right? And then there's another client will move. Kinesthetic is probably like the one that I struggle with the most because I talk so fast. I have to like slow down and then like really get into that empathy with them and really understand where they're coming from, because they want to feel right, because feelings take longer to evolve, versus being heard or seen, right? So we all know sight is light, right? So you could see more. So people that are visual will like talk really fast because
Yes.
they got like a movie going on in their head, where kinesthetics are like, oh, that
Calm
oh, that
down.
vibe, yeah, that vibe out me
Slow
so
down.
down. So
Let me feel this. I need to feel good
and,
about this
and,
exchange
and
here.
people that are money will only be like, "Oh, what's the price?" Like, what, I'll do whatever, just as long as the price is right. Like I got one of my other DJs. He's like, "Hey man, how much do you want for New Year's Eve?" He told me a price, and then I was like, "Okay, it's a kid party. I don't care. You got me the price I want." Like. Same thing with the client, the people that just want price. Well, your job is to take them out of whatever one of the five senses that they're in, and then bring them to yours. So if they don't want to move, then they're not going to follow your commands or fill out your forms or probably even pay you. I mean,
Or you can adapt to theirs.
yes, if you want to.
If
Narcissists tend to do this. They tend to do it too much. It becomes fake, and fake it can be read, and that's another whole series of videos. And then there's what is it? Prestige. Oh, security people. Security people. Mostly, it's attached to money, because money buys them, guns, knives, whatever to keep them safe. They probably have extra batteries. Okay, my personality type works out best with security, because all my DJs are security. They're the guys that have extra speakers. They're the guys that have extra vans. They're the ones that are like, oh yeah, I got 20. You need this cord? I got 20 of whatever one you need. So those are the guys that end up DJing for me, the security types, because they understand we got one shot to make it right, and they're going to make sure that happens, because then that, of course, that's connected to their money, because they can't do the job, then they won't get the money, future gigs, that kind of thing. Did I go over them all? I
yeah,
went
I
over
believe you have.
prestige, kinesthetic, security, and money. So there you go. And then you're like, oh, how does that link to your price? Well, what are you doing in your sales call? Are you taking them out and then showing them how you fix whatever? Okay, so someone's going to come to you and they have all this, thoughts in their mind. Are you able to clear up those thoughts and get them on your track, and then they feel comfortable with you pushing them along or guiding them along, with your forms and whatever you're doing. So back to what should you charge? Well, back to how many expenses do you have, back to what your market's like, back to how good are you, back to what's your biggest problem that you can solve. Now, one of my favorite coaches when I was first starting out said you get paid more versus like, how important that service is. Or drop with a heart attack in front of you, like someone who's a doctor is going to get paid a lot more if they can resuscitate this person back to life versus someone who could just change the oil in your car. So as a marketer, my coach was a marketer, and he would say, well, you can set up marketing for them, and you then control how many leads they get. So if you look like a needy salesperson because you're not getting enough leads, you're not going to be able to close them because they know they have you in their palm of their hand, right? But if you could give them, as a marketer, if you could give companies more leads, then they have more opportunities to close. And yes, there's a dollar sign with advertising for leads. And then how good is your system to be able to close them once you get them? So that's kind of what I have set up. And that's what I would like to help other people understand and set up as well, because there's tradition and tradition and tradition and tradition of how people used to run, right? 2020 flipped that upside down. Everybody had to stay home, and then there was Zoom, and then it was like, how are you going to reach them? My business is run off of internet. So I did all the work on the SEO. I do Google advertising, and I have paid leads on the Knot and a few others. So like I lost a $3,500 contract yesterday, but I didn't care because I booked 3 more that day. That ended up being 3,000. Would have been nice to have it, but you win, you lose. And if you focus on your losses, you're not worried about what you do have. Anyway, what should you charge?
Yeah, what should you charge? That I want everybody to go home and think about this because it doesn't matter everything we just said. That's where you should charge is where are you going to be in your marketplace? Where do you want to be? You want to be what tier do you want to be in? Who is your marketplace? You got to find your avatar. You got to figure out are you worth the money or do you have a product to sell? What's your marketplace? Again, what is it, it's you it's not that you need to really worry about what everybody else is charging, but it might be good to understand what other people are charging. So wherever you want to be in your marketplace, you can set
Yeah,
yourself.
and it's not even like you have to do any spy work. You can just throw a number out to one of your leads, and then they'll be like, "Oh, okay, well, that's more expensive than the other one I called, or less expensive." And then you won't even understand if that is a good price or not until you've had 10 more people tell you up or down, because you don't know who this person's talked to. They could have talked to somebody who was a DJ 10 years ago who still has their gear, and they're going to come out as a favor or something like that, you know?
So, and they might be charging them what they charged 10 years ago.
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of people haven't understood that the client the leads are just it's not like it used to be. 2020 changed everything.
Everything's in motion. That's the only thing that's constant in the world is change.
Once again, thanks for tuning in. www.coachscottking.com. Make sure to join the Facebook group, and we want to see you learn and grow. I have funnel hacking live this week, if I can say it right, and I'm going to learn some more stuff from Russell, and I'll be sharing that information with you inside the group.
Woo!
Bye, guys.